I thought I was just protecting my daughter from a creepy old man at the mall, but discovering his network of predators dragged us into a nightmare that ended with the FBI, a courtroom, and our entire lives changed forever. I used to think monsters lived under beds. Turns out they prefer food courts. It was a regular Saturday, socks in the dryer surrendering one by one, errands pretending to be a plan, me bribing my 8-year-old with pretzels so we could survive a Target run without discussing glitter. I'm Noah. My daughter is Isla, small, fierce, gap-toothed, currently in a unicorn hoodie that had already collected 3 different sauces like trophies. We were at the mall because the weather couldn't decide if it was rain or soup. Can I sit where I can see the fountain? Isla asked, already half standing with her tray. Deal, I said, and followed her to the rail that overlooks the coin-wishing chaos. We ate. She narrated her day in bursts, art class drama, which jelly bean flavors are secretly liars, how her classmate Mia can whistle without using fingers, witchcraft, and then she started doing that thing kids do where they swing their legs and watch the world like a minute has instruction. That's when he clicked into frame. At first it was nothing, a man about my dad's age in a drab cap and windbreaker, coffee he wasn't drinking, the bland smile of somebody who enjoys being in places without having a reason. Then the old radar, that gentle hum all parents grow after enough playgrounds, went stale. He wasn't looking at me. He wasn't looking at the fountain. He was looking at Isla. Not casually, not the way strangers go cute hoodie. He watched the way a person checks a clock. He held his phone flat, thumb hovering. If you've ever had your picture taken a million times, you know the difference between a text and a lens. Even from across the L you can see the micro movements, the tiny tilt to keep a face in frame, the pause tap. He took one. Then another. Then he pretended to scroll, eyes never leaving her face. I felt my palms go hot. Every option I had ran a reel through my head: confront and risk escalating with my kid at my elbow, grab mall security, drag Isla to the bathroom and hope he lost interest, pretend I hadn't noticed and die of resentment in 20 years. Isla asked if she could get napkins, her voice tugged me back to the table like a rope. Actually, let's try a different view, I said. I stood, picked up our tray, and we moved 3 tables over so a pillar sat between Isla and his line of sight. He adjusted his chair. Casual. A sigh from a man who wants better lighting. Not coincidence. I snapped a photo of him. Not obvious, camera at the hip, wide shot. Shoes, black sneakers with a white nick near the toe, cap, faded logo I couldn't make out, the way his windbreaker bulged like a pocket with a square inside. A habit from a past life, before full custody, where working in IT meant documenting everything or pretending it didn't happen. He looked up and, for one beat, our eyes met. I smiled the way men are taught to smile at other men when we want to avoid a fight, though we're both humans at the mall, buddy thing. He smiled back, too quickly, and then stared at the fountain for a full minute like it owed him alibi. Dad? Penny, Isla said, offering me one like I might need a wish more. I held the coin and counted to 5. Okay, I said, and walked her to the rail. She squeezed her eyes shut and whispered something. I wished for boring. I wished for the kind of day that ends with laundry and a movie where no one is in danger. When she opened her eyes, he was gone. Bathroom, Isla said, wrinkling her nose with the urgency only pretzels can conjure. We headed down the corridor with the weird lighting where every mall hides its decisions. Halfway there, I saw him again, just a flash, reflected in the glass of the closed nail salon. Same cap, a slice of windbreaker, the pause of a man deciding whether to turn around or not. I do not like the version of me that exists when I'm scared. He's clinical. He takes notes while my heart tries to kick out of my chest. We're gonna use the family restroom, I told Isla, cheerful, as if the handicap stall could hire a bouncer. She went in. I stood outside and tried to look like a dad in a hallway and not a hand grenade. That's when he did the thing that snapped something polite inside me. He stepped to the end of the corridor where a full-length mirror angles toward the family restroom door and angled his phone at the mirror. He was filming the reflection. I moved before I could think. Sir, I said, too quiet and somehow also a shout. Delete that. He glanced over his shoulder like he'd forgotten he had won. Delete what? He said, eyebrows up, mouth half smile. He held up his phone and waggled it, screen dark like he was showing me nothing. The recording, I said, stepping closer. You're filming my kid. Public place, he said, shrugging. Cute sweater. There are phrases that brand themselves onto your bones. Cute sweater is one of them now. Something ugly hot ran up my spine. I put my hand out. Delete it, I repeated. Now. He showed me the camera roll. All photos of mall plants and empty tables, the kind of decoy library you set up if you've practiced this before. No video. He smiled again. See? Behind me, the family restroom unlocked. Isla skipped out and wrapped her arms around my waist, mid-story already. Dad, the dryer in there is so loud, it scared A. She looked up, noticed the man, went quiet. Kids smell a certain kind of adult the way dogs smell rain. We're going, I said to no one, and guided her back to the food court with the kind of touch that says we're walking fast and it's a game. At the table I packed everything into a bag with controlled chaos and did the thing I hate doing. I left. At the car, I set Isla up with a downloaded cartoon and a lemonade. I'm putting the cart back, I said, code we have for daddy needs 90 seconds to breathe. I jogged back inside and beelined to customer service. I need security, I told the teenager with the cheery badge. There's a man filming kids by the family restroom. She went pale in a way that made me briefly hate everyone who ever told me teenagers don't care. She picked up a phone and spoke in shorthand. Code 4, Corridor C, she said, eyes on mine like she was willing the cavalry to be fast. Security arrived in a creak of nylon belts. We walked the hall. Empty, of course. The mirror reflected me and 2 officers and a sign about handwashing. I showed them the picture I'd managed to take. They nodded, radios chirping. We'll walk the floors, one said. If you see him again, call us immediately. It wasn't satisfying. It was something. At home, Isla watched a movie and fell asleep on the couch like an illustration for comfort. I opened my laptop and created a folder called CoTrack because everything in a case needs somewhere to hang. I backed up the photo. I wrote notes with timestamps like a court reporter for my own life. 12:17, food court. 12:24, phone flat. 12:29, mirror. Cute sweater. It felt paranoid. It also felt like oxygen. I called the non-emergency police line because I'm the kind of person who doesn't sleep unless I've been told by someone with a badge that I've done the right thing. The officer on the line listened, took down the time in the mall, and said the sentence I knew was coming. Sir, it's not illegal to take photos in public. I swallowed the acid in my mouth. What about filming a bathroom door? I asked. What about telling a kid's dad cute sweater? We'll file the report, he said. If security identifies him, we can do a trespass warning. If he returns after that, it's an arrest. It was the kind of answer that makes you want to build your own universe. So I did the least healthy thing and the most practical. I started building a dossier. I dumped the security footage request form from the mall website into the folder and filled it out. I went back to the mall alone 2 nights later on purpose and nursed a coffee like I was making peace with an old enemy. I sat at the same table Isla had chosen and watched the moving crowd for that gray cap. He came back on a Tuesday. Same cap. Same windbreaker. Different coffee. He didn't see me. He stopped at the rail, leaned on his forearms like a man who enjoys being above something, and scanned. Predator is a big word. It sounds like the movie, like sweaty jungle and a monster with too many teeth. The real thing looks boring. It looks like a man checking the time. It looks like a man who's gotten away with a lot of boring, small, evil things. He positioned himself near a column with a clear view of the little play area where toddlers pretend plastic steering wheels do something. I took more photos. Wide shot. Close on cap. Angle that included the kiosk number because the mall map uses them. A woman with a stroller paused in my line of sight and then kept moving, and I saw it, his phone angled, his thumb pausing, his eyes flicking to the baby and then away because babies mean witnesses. He adjusted. He kept scanning. I stood. Not to confront. To move. To shadow. I kept 2 stores between us like a crappy spy. He meandered to the parking deck, the slow walk of a person who believes he's invisible because he's practiced being beige. He clicked his key fob. Lights flashed on a silver Subaru with a veteran plate frame. I angled my body like an idiot practicing a stretch and aimed my camera at the rear, plate with 3 letters, 3 numbers. I repeated it in my head until it dug grooves, CTH 482. He got in and drove away at 7 miles per hour like a man who never has consequences. I filmed him leave. Back home, I added, plate, silver Subaru, vet frame, CTH 482. I sent it to the officer's email with a polite subject line because women taught me that tone buys you attention in systems that tune men out when they're loud. I printed a copy. I printed 2. Paper still has magic in it. Days went by with the kind of suspense that makes you jump at the refrigerator. I changed our routines without telling Isla they were changing. A different park. A different grocery. I asked school if I could walk her to the classroom door just for fun, and her teacher, who has the face of someone who's decided to love other people's kids in a way that will break her heart, nodded like she knew more than she said. A detective finally called. Ruiz. Voice like a math teacher, kind, but allergic to drama. She'd gotten my report and the plate and the mall security note that, yes, their guards had seen a man matching my description leave by the deck that night. We ran the plate, she said. It comes back to a Walter Quinn. 58. 2 addresses in the last 5 years. No criminal history on the quick check. I'm going to look deeper. Meanwhile, if you see him again, do not approach. Should I not go places? I asked, hating how small that sounded. Live your life, she said. Just don't let him live it with you. I googled anyway. I know. But the internet is both a monster and a metal detector. An old school newsletter with his name on a volunteer list. A grant committee photo with a grainy smile and a tie that says good at pretending. A forum thread where a teacher complained about a creepy volunteer who lingers near recess and the principal always says he's vetted. Then a post taken down, cached somewhere else, with a name that rhymed with his and a comment that made my teeth hurt. People always see what they want. Ruiz texted the next morning, meeting at your house? 6 p.m. She arrived on time, shoes sensible, hair in a bun that spoke fluent practical. She looked at my folder without mocking me, which is all I ask from the state. You did good, she said, flipping through the printouts. We'll do a knock and talk. Not today. Soon. I want him to know we're watching. Will that make him angrier? I asked. Maybe, she said, like a person who doesn't lie to kids. Also maybe more careful. Predators hate light. Isla walked in with a drawing of a cat that looks like it's trying to audition for a job. Hi, she said to Ruiz, without fear, because I have worked very hard to make police be something other than sirens in her head. Do you like glitter? I respect it, Ruiz said, and that's the right answer. We kept going. Which is to say, we kept pretending to be normal while tightening every bolt. I swapped our doorbell for one with a camera. I put a small dashcam in my car because insurance companies have taught me to be poor in a smart way. I taught Isla a new game called 3 Steps, Freeze, Run that is basically tag with better branding. I texted the school's front desk our new pickup plan like I was apologizing for being alive. A week later, I saw him again. Not the mall. The school pickup line. I was parked 2 blocks down because it's faster to walk. Parents have a look at 259, phones up, eyes down, brain counting heads. I clocked him across the street, half a block back, camera hanging off his neck like a tourist, cap down, smile rehearsed. He stood by the fence and pretended to photograph trees. There are no trees worth that much shutter speed. I went cold. I called Ruiz with a thumb that wouldn't press right. He's here, I said. By the east gate. Camera out. Her voice shifted 1 gear up. Don't engage. Text me the picture. I'm nearby. I took a photo. I took 5. He panned his lens. Kids poured out like a river. A crossing guard stepped into the street and blew a whistle like a warning. He adjusted focus. And then he saw me staring. He tipped his cap, tiny, obscene. Like we were men who knew something together. A car horn blared. Not at him. At me. The line moved. The river of kids turned into individual fish, and then she was there, Isla, running, backpack slapping, unicorn hoodie up like armor. She launched herself at me. I wrapped my arms around her and kissed the top of her head like I was thanking an inventor. Hey, I said, too bright. Let's go get ice cream at the place across town. Across town? She asked, suspicious and delighted. Field trip, I said. We're wild now. I glanced back. He was gone. Of course he was. Ruiz texted, on foot. Circling. If you can, stay on the phone. I put my earbuds in and narrated the sidewalk like an audiobook I didn't want to sell. Turning on Maple. Passing the dentist with the salamander poster. Green Honda. Silver Subaru, no, different plate. We're good. We made it to the car. I buckled her with shaking fingers and put the cartoon on and felt like I was lying to her in a way that counts as love. Ruiz's voice stayed in my ear until we were 5 blocks away. We'll escalate, she said. You did right. At the ice cream place, Isla asked for sprinkles and put 3 on each finger to make sprinkle claws. My phone buzzed on the table and I almost dropped it into the chocolate. Unknown number. A text. Blue hoodie today. Unicorn again. A second later. Thursdays are ballet, right? The spoon clinked against the cup in my hand like a bell. I looked at Isla. She hummed to herself, engineering a sprinkle tower. The mall felt 1,000 years away. The food court, the fountain, the mirror, prologue. I've learned you never get to choose the moment your life hands you a cliff. It just leans in, whispers its line, and waits to see if you'll fall or climb. I didn't answer the text. I screenshotted it, renamed it in the CoTrack folder, text_blue_hoodie_today, and sent it to Detective Ruiz with exactly 3 words. This just came. She wrote back in under a minute. Got it. Do not reply. Where are you now? I took a photo of the ice cream shop sign like a breadcrumb and hit send. On my way, she wrote. We'll talk safety plan tonight. I smiled at Isla like a man who isn't calculating exits. She licked her sprinkle claws and told me the names of all the stuffed animals she would adopt if she ran a shelter. On the drive home I took the long way, then another long way, then a third, and watched the rear view like it owed me good news. No silver Subaru. No veteran plate. But an ordinary blue sedan stayed 2 cars back for 6 blocks and then peeled off as soon as I noticed it. Maybe nothing. Maybe the only thing I see now. Ruiz showed up at 8 p.m. with a canvas bag that made a clink when she set it down. Window alarms, she said. Battery powered. Not pretty. Loud. She pulled out a stack of small white devices and a roll of painter's tape. We can do fancy later. Tonight we do obvious. We walk the house. She asked where Isla sleeps, where I put my keys, which windows stick, who has spare copies of anything that opens anything. She talked in a calm, boring cadence that made my ribcage loosen by half a notch. 2 layers, she said. Hardware and habits. Locks and routines. Keep the routines boring, but not predictable. Isn't that the same thing? I asked, because if I wasn't careful, fear turned me into a comedian. Predictable is every Thursday at 4:05 Isla leaves ballet from the east door and stops at the vending machine. Boring is we always text before a handoff, we never post locations, we always walk with a grown-up to a car, we play find 3 exits every time we enter a building. Boring saves lives. We installed alarms. We stuck a tiny contact sensor on the back gate. I added Ruiz to the Ring app even though part of my soul hates that we've crowdsourced safety to our doorbells. She opened a new chat with the school resource officer and typed, need to coordinate with Isla's dad, tight pickup plan. She looked at me. Tomorrow, she said. I'll be there. Should I keep her home? I asked. Do you want to? She asked back. I looked down the hall toward the room with a unicorn duvet and a nightlight shaped like a sleepy cloud. I want her to be a kid, I said. I want the world to behave. She can be a kid, Ruiz said. And the world won't. That's why we make plans. I didn't sleep. The alarms didn't trip. Isla snored softly and kicked her blanket off twice. At 6:30 a.m. I made pancakes shaped like a heart because apparently I'm that parent now. She rolled her eyes, delighted. You're ridiculous, she said through syrup, and then hugged me like a person whose life is not currently a case number. I showed up at school 30 minutes early with coffee for the front desk. The admin, Mrs. Cho, the human glue, met me with a clipboard. Ruiz was already there, talking to the resource officer, a man named Patel I'd never seen not smiling. He wasn't smiling now. We're moving her class's exit to the south gate for a bit, he said quietly. We've got eyes on the usual place. We're not putting this in a newsletter. A small blessing, Isla's teacher got it. She didn't ask me to make a speech to the class about being safe, which would put a target on a child faster than any stranger. She just texted me one extra line at pickup, be it south. I'll walk her to you. I printed it. I don't know why. Paper makes things more real or less terrifying. Some days it's both. At 2:57 I stood where we said. Patel walked the fence line like a metronome. Ruiz sat in an unmarked sedan next to the fire hydrant, sunglasses on, phone out. I breathed in counts of 4. I watched the corner where I'd seen the camera. I watched the street. A gray SUV rolled by slowly and kept going. A silver Subaru didn't appear. The river of kids came out, individual fish, backpacks and shouts. Isla came out last, hand in hand with her teacher, who squeezed my arm as she passed me my child like a priceless vase. We walked to the car together. I didn't look back. Everything in me looked back. The days started stacking with a rhythm that felt like a life, work, school, check-ins with Ruiz, me turning into the kind of person who has a list of safe adults in his pocket like a talisman. Twice I thought I saw the cap at a distance and felt my body flood as if it remembered a different day. Each time, the cap turned out to be attached to a teenager who could barely hold 3 iced coffees. I apologized to my nervous system for making it sprint a marathon while I stood still. On Thursday, ballet. I told myself I didn't have to tell Ruiz because we'd changed the schedule twice and she'd told me not to let this man blow up my kid's life. I told myself I had the new pickup route, the different door, the unmarked car. I told myself we'd earned an hour of pink leotards and music that smells like rosin. I told myself a lot of things and then texted Ruiz anyway. Ballet, new door again. 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. I'll be there the whole time. She wrote back a thumbs up and stay weird. I think she meant unpredictable. Ballet is in a strip mall with a donut shop that makes the whole place smell like childhood and a nail salon with a television always tuned to a soap where no one whispers. I sat by the window and answered emails from clients who think their login problems are emergencies and moved a few meetings because the person I used to be had a calendar and the person I am now has guardrails. Isla danced in a line of other small comets, counting in their heads, tongue sticking out with effort. Every so often she looked over to make sure I was still a person. I waved. She grinned. Boredom felt like a miracle. 5 minutes before class ended, a man walked into the donut shop and stood where he could see the studio door in the glass reflection. Not Quinn. Taller. Thinner. Suit jacket too nice for donuts, hair barbered like a man who tiptoes into people's trust for a living. He held a newspaper he did not read. He checked his watch. He faced the glass. I felt that same parental hum go stale and then sour. I took a photo. His posture said cop until his eyes found the studio door and didn't move. The teacher called, curtsy. And 6 tiny humans bent like flowers. The man in the suit didn't smile. He adjusted his cuffs. Ruiz wasn't here. She was 3 neighborhoods over, following up on a tip about Quinn at a park, and she had texted call if weird. This was weird. I called. She answered by the second ring. Describe, she said. I did, low voice, eyes on the glass. Okay, she said. Stay inside. Do not confront. I'm 10 out. I'm calling Patel. If he leaves, send direction and plate. He left when the teacher clapped and the door cracked open. He moved with purpose, not rushing, like a man avoiding being noticed by moving confidently. He walked to the end of the strip, turned as if to look at the street numbers, and then glanced back through the donut shop glass one more time like a person checking a stove. I stepped out with my phone pretending to be a wallet. He got into a dark red sedan with a dent on the rear passenger door. I caught 3 digits of the plate before a delivery truck blocked my view, 712. Then he was gone. Patel rolled up in a minute that felt like a fight and circled the lot with a look that made teenagers hide vapes. Isla came out at my hip, sweaty and proud. I did the thing with my toes, she said, demonstrating with both feet at once in a way that made me realize we need to work on anatomical logistics. Absolutely you did, I said, and buckled her into a different door than usual because I am petty and the universe can take the variety. Ruiz texted a description request. Height? Clothes? Any distinguishing features? Dent rear passenger. Partial plate 712. Suit jacket too nice for donuts. Copy, she wrote. Might be a new friend. The words hit me like ice. A new friend. As in, not alone. That night, Ruiz knocked with a detective I hadn't met, Ortiz, Federal Task Force patch on his jacket, the kind of measured eyes that tell you he listens with all his bones. ICAC, he said when I looked at the patch. Internet crimes against children. We work with locals when it looks networky. What does looks networky mean? I asked. I already knew. Shared tactics, he said. Devices that talk to the same cloud. Common venues. Men who don't like to play alone. He flipped open a legal pad. Your guy, Quinn, popped on a forum we watch. Somebody named Barker liked a post in July from a Quinn account about shooting at the mall, which is how some of these guys talk about taking photos because they love being disgusting. He didn't sanitize it for me. I appreciated not being treated like a child in my own nightmare. Barker, I repeated. It stuck to my tongue. Red sedan. Dent. Wouldn't shock me, Ortiz said. We're pulling DMV. Meanwhile, I need a couple things from you. He ticked them off, all the files in CoTrack, copied onto a flash drive he handed me still in its plastic, a signed consent for my Ring camera footage, anything that looked like schedule info on my socials or old posts I forgot I'd made. He wasn't blaming. He was mapping. He and Ruiz set up a stakeout plan for the next ballet class that made me want to throw up less than the alternative. We won't always be here, Ortiz said. We can't be. But this Thursday, we will be. What if that makes them do something sooner? I asked. Sometimes light makes cockroaches scatter, he said. Sometimes it makes them run faster. Either way, it tells us where to step. Thursday came, as Thursdays do, with the unwillingness of a weekday that knows it has a job. I woke up before dawn with the feeling I get before a storm and put on coffee I didn't drink. Isla ate toast with her stuffed bear sitting next to her like a guest. I put socks on her feet while she read a joke from the back of a cereal box and laughed so hard she snorted. I wanted to freeze time at the snort and live there. At 3:30 I drove to ballet with 2 extra minutes stitched in. Ruiz texted in position. Ortiz texted 2 out. I parked where they told me, not right in front, not on the far end, next to a minivan with a bunch of stick figure decals like a spreadsheet had mated with a bumper. Isla ran inside, late, apologizing to the teacher in a way that would have made her mother, back when there was a mother in this story, beam. I sat in the lobby pretending to read email while my leg bounced betrayal Morse code. Ruiz checked in from her car. Any sign? I wrote back not yet. Ortiz texted maroon sedan. Coming in. I looked up. Red, not maroon, but I have never been a man to argue crayon names. Dent on the passenger rear. The suit jacket over a too nice shirt. He parked 2 rows over and sat. Didn't get out. Didn't pick up a phone. The stillness of a man who knows the next move belongs to someone else. I took a photo through the glass. He looked at the studio door's reflection again. I watched Ruiz's unmarked nudge forward an inch, then stop. Ortiz rolled by in a maintenance truck I didn't know he had access to, the kind of camouflage that makes me mad and grateful at the same time. At 5 o'clock, the door opened and the line of petite comets came out with their bags slung across their bodies like they were on a mission. I stood. I felt eyes. Not Barker's. Across the lot, under the donut shop sign, the cap. Quinn. Not walking, not leaning, standing. Smile already coiled. He raised a hand in a little wave so small it could be nothing. My stomach flipped hard enough to throw off the Earth's axis. On me, Ruiz said, except she wasn't in my ear. She was suddenly at my shoulder, voice low, body between me and the glass. Do not run to him. He wants your eyes off the kid. I didn't run to him. I ran to Isla. I crouched to her level and said, we're going to walk to the car like a game. Eyes on me. If I say freeze, you freeze. She nodded, solemn at getting a job. We walked. The world narrowed to the 10 feet between me and the door handle. Barker still sat. Quinn started to move, slow, like syrup. Someone yelled. Not at us. Not words. A noise that meant now. Barker's car turned over. Quinn pivoted. I felt the math of 2 men and 1 me. Ruiz moved. Ortiz's maintenance truck rolled in the lane at an angle that made other cars hesitate, which is what you want cars to do when you can't arrest anyone and need them to not help someone leave. We got to the car. Isla climbed in. I shut the door and hit the button that makes it sound like a vault. Quinn changed his mind about wherever his feet thought they were going and walked the other direction like a man who had forgotten what he came to the store for. Barker put his car into reverse and then, for a moment, into park and then reverse again, like he couldn't decide whether playing it cool meant leaving slow or fast. Ortiz drifted his fake maintenance truck behind him enough to make a point about physics. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. We can wait. A second later. Tomorrow works too. The taste in my mouth went metal. I didn't show Ruiz. She was watching both men with all the muscles you only learn when your job is to stand between the worst day and a child. We'll follow Barker, Ortiz said into his radio. Local, you trail Quinn if he leaves. Don't light him up. Let him see you seeing him. Copy, Ruiz said, and then to me, go home. Different route. Don't post. If you get a text, don't reply. Send it to us. Latch everything. What if, I started. We won't solve centuries tonight, she said. We will ruin this one's Thursday. We did. Barker pulled out. Ortiz followed. Quinn drifted to the edge of the lot and pretended to be the kind of man who takes very long, contemplative walks at dinner time in strip malls. Ruiz idled where he could see her seeing him. I drove home the longest of long ways and narrated license plates out loud like a crazy person so I wouldn't turn into one. At bedtime, Isla asked if we could camp on the living room floor because that way the cat can guard us both. The cat meowed like, please do not outsource this to me. I said yes anyway and made a little nest, and Isla fell asleep mid-sentence. The cat declined guard duty and sat on my feet like a paperweight. I watched the front camera feed on my phone until my eyes burned. At 11:12 p.m., Ortiz texted, we got Barker's plate, now a name. Richard Barker. 2 prior civil complaints for harassment dismissed. White-collar job. Feeds a church social media page. Nothing criminal yet. We'll dig. Ruiz added, Quinn looped the dance lot twice then went home to the address we have. Stayed in. We've got probable cause simmering but not boiling. Working the warrant angle. Stay inside. At 1:03 a.m., a car paused in front of my house and then drove on. I watched it until the block stopped feeling like a throat. At 3:27, something hit the front step, a soft thump like a rolled newspaper. I didn't open the door. I watched from the peephole until light. At 6 a.m., With Ruiz on FaceTime telling me I wasn't an idiot, I opened it with my foot braced and a broom in my hand like I was fighting raccoons rather than evil. It was a flyer. A missing cat. A phone number I didn't recognize. On the back, in block letters, not handwriting I knew, "See you after school." I took a photo and then, for the first time in 2 weeks, I sat on the step and let myself feel how little control I had, how much paper in a folder can be both a raft and a flag, how being somebody's dad means you learn to cry so quietly it doesn't wake them. I sent the photo to Ruiz and Ortiz. "Copy," she wrote. "We're there at dismissal." At 2:40 that afternoon, the sky decided to be dramatic for me and the first heavy drops hit like coins. I stood at the south gate in a rain jacket I bought when my life was about hiking and not standing watch. Patel paced with a new energy. Ruiz sat where she had sat before. I didn't see Barker. I didn't see Quinn. The dismissal bell rang and the flood became individuals. I saw Isla's hood pop up, small and pink in a river of blue and black and neon. Her teacher's hand lifted in a wave. I moved. A horn blared somewhere I couldn't see. A car door slammed. Someone yelled a name that wasn't hers but could have been, and the part of my brain responsible for sound went underwater. I saw Isla step off the curb with her teacher, training kicking in, eyes on me. And then in the corner of the frame, just a blur, the dented rear panel of a red sedan edging out of a parking spot 2 blocks down, the kind of casual roll that looks like nothing until it's something. My phone buzzed in my pocket with an unknown call that would have made me answer any other day because what if it's Ruiz? What if it's Ortiz? What if it's... I didn't pick up. I grabbed my daughter's hand and felt all my bones decide that the only job I have is to make sure this small human's feet make contact with the floor inside our car. We got there. We did. She climbed in. I shut the door. As I hit the lock, my phone vibrated again with a voicemail notification from the missed call. I pressed play on speaker without thinking. A muffled sound. Road noise. Then a man's voice, too close to a microphone. "Noah. You can't watch her forever." The line clicked. Rain hit harder. Isla's teacher looked at me like she'd just seen what I look like when someone says the quiet part out loud. Ruiz's unmarked slid across the mouth of the driveway like a punctuation mark. Ortiz's text lit up my screen. "We have a beat on Barker. Don't chase. Go home. We're on him." I put the car in drive and did the thing I always do when I don't know what happens next. I narrated. "We're going to go home, kiddo. We're going to eat noodles. We're going to build a blanket fort. We're going to watch a movie where nothing bad happens. Can it be the one with the dancing pancakes?" She asked, voice normal in a way that felt like a miracle produced by Audacity. "Absolutely," I said, and stared in the rearview mirror long enough to see a maroon, fine, red, sedan turn left at the light and disappear into ordinary traffic like it belonged to the world more than I did. That night, after Isla fell asleep under a blanket fort that sagged like a cave, Ruiz called. "We're closing a circle," she said. "Barker led us to a house on Mill. He went in. Quinn showed up later. We're writing paper. It's going to take a minute." "How many minutes?" I asked, hating that I sounded like a child asking for a turn on a toy. "A few," she said. "Maybe more than a few. Probable cause likes to be courted." When we hung up, I opened CoTrack and dragged the voicemail into the folder. I renamed it VM_You Can't Watch Her Forever. Then I sat on the rug next to a small sleeping human and a cat who still had not agreed to be head of security, and I waited for the kind of morning that comes when the night is too long. What I didn't know then, morning had plans. And the difference between waiting and being ready is one phone call that changes your house from a home into a command center, whether you want it or not. The call came at 7:12 a.m., before coffee, before cartoons, before I could pretend this was another regular day. It was Detective Ruiz, voice already in second gear. "Morning, Noah. Papers ready. Judge signed overnight, search warrants on Barker's place on Mill and Quinn's apartment. We're moving this morning. Stay put. Keep Isla home until I clear you." My house turned into a command center in one sentence. I put pancakes on a plate I didn't eat from. Isla watched a cartoon with the volume low and her unicorn hood up like a helmet. I paced, phone in hand, feeling every window alarm we'd stuck last night like a heartbeat. At 8:03, the school's front desk called. Mrs. Cho's voice did a thing I'd never heard, polite alarm. "Mr. Hale? Quick question, did you email us last night to add an Uncle Rick to Isla's pickup list?" The signature looked old. I closed my eyes. "No," I said. "Please print it and hold it." "We already did," she said. "And we flagged the file. No one new picks her up. Period." It was both a vow and a verdict. I texted Ruiz, "School just got a forged pickup email for Uncle Rick." She replied, copy. Barker. We're at his door. Hold. Hold is the longest word in English when your life is running. I stacked dishes we didn't use. I refreshed a ring feed even though daylight was doing its job. Isla lined up animal crackers and assigned them jobs. This one's security, she said, solemnly pressing a lion into service. He watches the gate. At 9:21, Ruiz again. Not a text, a call that made my ribs unclench an inch. We're in, she said. Barker's house. Ortiz's team served the warrant. Devices, cameras, a printer with fresh pages that look like your school email. He's not here. She exhaled once. Quinn's location pinged. He's home. A second voice in the background, Ortiz, low, focused. We'll bag everything. Sit tight. 10 minutes later the front window flashed with a shadow. The new doorbell chirped. It was Maya's mom with a bag of snacks and 2 juice boxes and a look that said she'd bulldoze the world for my kid. We're on standby, she said simply. No heroics. Just presence. I wanted to cry at the normalness of juice boxes. I didn't, because Isla was watching me like a weather vane. At 10:07, my phone vibrated with a number I didn't recognize, and I let it go to voicemail out of reflex. A second later I played it on speaker at the kitchen counter, because fear is an idiot like that. Road noise, then a man's breath too close to a mic. Not Barker. Not Quinn. A voice I didn't know yet. Hi, Noah, it said, too cheerful for the hour. Tell Ruiz to stop. Tell Ortiz to walk. You can't guard her all day. The line clicked. The lion cracker toppled. I sent the audio to Ruiz. New voice, I typed. Unknown. She replied, we see Barker's red sedan on a neighbor's cam from 3 a.m. he left. Quinn is in custody. One more ghost out there. Lock everything. We locked everything. We did the boring things that keep people alive. Blinds at half-mast, keys by the door, shoes on, phone charged, code word game rehearsed one more time just to hear Isla say it. What's our word if someone says you sent them? I asked. Dancing pancakes, she grinned. Ordinary silly words turned holy by context. At 12:32 p.m., the back gate sensor chirped. Not the front. Not the window. The gate. My body moved before my brain did. I hit the backyard camera feed and saw motion blur, a figure crossing our fence line from the alley, fast, light jacket, a cap that wasn't Quinn's, no logo, just dark, pulled down. The camera caught only 3 frames, feet in running shoes, a gloved hand on the latch, a profile narrower than Barker's. Inside, I said to Isla and Maya's mom at the same time. Now. They moved, a shuffle, a hush. I grabbed the nearest thing with weight, a cast iron pan because every internet safety list says not to, but I am still a mammal, and stepped into the hall as a shadow crossed the back door window. The knob turned. The deadbolt held. The person on the other side tried the old trick, turn, knock, knock, hello? Like a package. The voice wasn't deep enough to be Barker, not gravelly enough to be Quinn. It was a third actor we hadn't named yet, and I felt the shape of something bigger than one man press against my threshold. I didn't speak. The door held. The shadow paused and then slipped out of frame toward the side gate like water seeking a lower path. I whispered to the phone, back gate. Unknown male. Black cap. Running shoes. Ruiz was on the line in seconds. We're 2 minutes out, she said. Stay off the yard. Stay on the line. 2 minutes is a lifetime and a blink. The sensor chirped again as the side gate opened. I heard a foot slip on the wet pavers, a muffled curse, then rapid steps down the alley. Siren in the distance. My hands forgot how to be hands. Clear? Maya's mom mouthed. For now, I mouthed back. Ruiz radioed the chase. Ortiz's voice, controlled, alley east. Red sedan 2 blocks north just lit. Quinn in custody. Unknown runner is our third. He didn't use swear words. He didn't need to. Patel, the school officer, chimed in from nowhere because heroes commute, perimeter on the south. Units rolling. We waited. We breathed. I heard my own heart in my ears like a drum someone badly tuned. The siren cut. The radio went to that crackle that means either triumph or regroup. Ruiz stepped into my doorway with mud on her shoes and a grin I'll remember forever because it means almost. We've got Quinn, she said. Ortiz is still on Barker. Runner vanished back to a car before we could tag him. But we've got him on 3 cameras. We'll get him. Who is he? I asked. Working theory? Ortiz texted at that same moment because the universe likes choreography. Handler Barker follows her Baker and our _Barker clones in 2 forums. One of those accounts DM'd Quinn from an IP that hits a house near Willow and 10th. Car registered there fits your 3 digits, 712. We're drafting paper for Willow now. I sat down at my own table like a man who had just been given a map of his own city he didn't want. Eat something, Ruiz said, because some people are good at telling you how to keep moving when your body wants to freeze. I eaten a dry square of toast like it had a job. Isla chewed a grape like it was a dare and announced, "Lion's back on duty," placing the cracker on the windowsill. At 2:05 p.m., Ruiz texted, "We're rolling on Willow." I stared at my phone so hard I saw the words after images when I blinked. 2 minutes later, knock. No answer. We're in. Then more, devices, cameras, external drives. 2 rooms set up like offices. A printer warm. A photo came through that I never want to see again and I'm glad exists. A table with a ring binder labeled schedules and a stack of flyers with different phone numbers on each. The back of one, "See you after school." My photo, my porch, my fear, their printer ink. "Bring Isla," Ruiz said, appearing again in my door like the word teleport. "We're doing the pickup together. We're not letting them make this a story where a dad starts hiding from his kid's life." We went. Patel had 2 officers planted at the south gate like trees. Parents clocked the extra presents and turned their chatter down to a hum. I stood where I always stand now and tried to breathe like a person. Isla's hood bobbed up in the crowd. Her teacher walked her out. We buckled. We went home down a route that made no sense to anyone but me. For 1 hour nothing happened. At 4:28 my phone rang with a number I didn't know. I let it go to voicemail again, and it transcribed itself on the lock screen so my brain could torture me faster. "You can't watch forever." Same voice as the morning. Then a second message, breathier, "Out back." I looked at the backyard camera feed. Empty. The gate closed. The lion on duty. I swallowed, hit 911, and said the sentence I'd never practiced out loud because the practicing itself felt like summoning. "Someone says they're at my back door." They were. But not that someone. It was Ortiz, with a grin and a warrant in his hand. He held it up like a teacher with a hall pass. "We got him," he said, voice low, eyes bright. "Barker's at Willow." We pulled plates on a maroon sedan registered to him with a beautiful den on the rear passenger. He came home at 4:10 smelling like stale donuts. He didn't hide his pleasure at that detail. Quinn flipped on the recording about shooting, their word, not mine. And the guy who ran? We've got his face on a neighbor's camera. A Richard Baker, no second R in this alias, lives in the rear unit on Willow. Same dented car in the carport. We'll have him by dinner. Dinner, I repeated like the word had content. "Yeah," he said. "Dinner. Lock up. We'll knock when it's time to exhale." I tried. I made macaroni. I let Isla sprinkle cheese like a scientist. I checked the cameras and checked them again and then had to stop because the act of checking started eating the part of my brain that feeds sanity. At 5:17 p.m., everything happened fast in the way that makes memory a braided rope. Isla asking if cats can eat noodles, my phone buzzing with 3 texts at once, sirens far then near, footsteps on the porch, Ruiz's voice in the hall, he's in cuffs and Ortiz behind her with an evidence bag that held a phone case I recognized from the donut shop, matte black, tiny sticker of a church youth logo in the corner. "Barker's device is already talking," he said to the room because houses become briefing rooms when paper arrives. Cloud backups, shared albums with Quinn, logins that hit a forum we monitor. We're going to be working this for months. Tonight, we sleep. He looked at Isla. Tonight, he repeated, softer, like a benediction, we watch silly pancakes. I let myself exhale like I'd been underwater for a week. The next days were a blur of logistics that don't make headlines and save lives, forensic interviews for kids whose names I never learned, a DA who talked like a carpenter, measure twice, cut once, Ortiz's team bagging and imaging devices with the care of surgeons. Quinn pled fast when he saw the file tree unfurl. Barker hired a lawyer with a haircut that tried to be expensive and failed. Baker, the runner, was picked up in a parking garage after ALPR hit his plate. He tried to argue that the dent could belong to anyone. It didn't. Charges: attempted kidnapping, child endangerment, conspiracy, possession of child sexual abuse material, electronic harassment. Words that make you want to wash your hands after you say them. The judge said no bail for Quinn and Barker, high bail for Baker with conditions that looked like a fortress. Paper, again, doing something you can feel. Ruiz stood in my kitchen 2 days after the arrests with a coffee I didn't make and said, "You did everything right and I hate that you had to." She fiddled with the lion cracker like a worry stone. "You kept records. You didn't chase. You told us whenever your gut went stale. She smiled without her eyes. I hope you get a year of nothing. We moved apartments within the month, not because paper doesn't work but because sometimes geography is a kind of medicine. New street, new neighbors, same unicorn hoodie. I picked a building with a lobby camera I don't have to pay for and a superintendent who took my paranoia as a challenge. We gave the school the new routes and the safe adult list with Patel's name highlighted. I put Kotrack on an external drive and then in a box with our last few family photos that don't hurt to look at. Isla started therapy with a woman who keeps a basket of rocks on her desk and lets kids pick one to hold. Isla picked a smooth white oval and named it Egg because she's 8 and the world hasn't beaten her imagination down to utility yet. She drew maps for the therapist, our street, the mall, the donut shop, the studio, and labeled the exits with stars. We always find 3, she told her like a proud student. I sat in the lobby and cried into a coffee I didn't drink. Months passed. Court did what court does, slow, careful, boring like a machine built by tired saints. Quinn pled to multiple counts, possession, conspiracy, attempted kidnapping, and took a deal that will keep him away from parks and people's lives for a long time. Barker tried to drag it out and then folded when Ortiz's team connected his devices to cloud folders he thought he'd hidden. Baker lost on the dent and the cameras and the forum DMs. He pled because juries like pictures. Sentences aren't poetry. They're numbers. They won't give us back the hours we lived like prey. They will give other kids a buffer zone built on tech and paper and the fact that someone stood still when it mattered. The day the last one pled, I walked Isla to school along the new route and let her jump in every puddle on purpose. Can we get donuts after? She asked, mischievous, testing the word. I said yes, because reclaiming is a verb. We went to a different shop than the ballet one. The lady behind the counter drew a smiley face and icing on eyeless. Isla drew one back on the wax paper in sprinkles. I still jump at caps in crowds sometimes. I still take the long way home without telling my brain why. But the alarms are just alarms now, not music. The lion cracker retired. It went stale in the windowsill and Isla held a little funeral in a shoebox that made me laugh until I scared the cat. A week later, Ruiz and Ortiz came by to drop off a copy of an order and pick up the Last Ring archive. They stood in my kitchen like old friends who hate the circumstances. Ortiz patted the counter and said, "We need a better word than closure." Ruiz stole one of Isla's animal crackers and pronounced it terrible and ate it anyway. "Boring is the goal," she said. "I hope your life is so boring it makes your teeth itch." That night, after Isla fell asleep under a fort that now only sags for physics, I opened Kotrack one last time. I dragged the folder into another called Orders and Records and printed the final protection order because I'm that man now, the one who needs paper you can hold. I labeled a new folder Boring and put a photo in it of Isla on a park bench eating a donut with icing on her nose. You want the twist? It's not dramatic. It's not a chase scene or a miraculous speech that makes a judge cry. It's that the thing that saves you is tedious. Timestamps, screenshots, windows that beep, cops who bring ugly white alarms, a DA who likes receipts, a detective who texts stay weird because predictability is a trap, and a daughter who learned how to find 3 exits and keep her eyes on the person who loves her. Every once in a while, Isla asks if the pancakes in the silly movie we watch are real or cartoons. Real, I say, lying on purpose, because I want a world where breakfast can dance without a camera in the glass. And in the morning, when she throws a coin into a fountain we drive by on purpose in a different part of town, I close my eyes and wish for the same thing I wished for the day this started. Boring. So far, we're getting it. In layers. With paper. And a lion cracker that, yes, we replaced, ceramic this time, ridiculous and heavy, sitting on the sill like a joke that got promoted to Guardian.